Redondo and the Phantom of Deadwood Canyon. Introduction. A town haunted by fear. Redondo wasn't a man who believed in ghost stories. The West had plenty of real horrors: bandits, corrupt sheriffs, and killers who'd shoot you dead for the coins in your pocket. But when he rode into Deadwood Canyon, even he had to admit, something felt wrong. The town was half empty, its buildings worn and silent. Windows were boarded up, and what few people remained kept their heads low, avoiding eye contact. Whispers followed him as he made his way toward the saloon. "Another drifter gonna die. Won't last the night. The phantom's gonna get him." Red smirked. A phantom, huh? He wasn't scared of ghosts. But men who used fear to control others? That was another matter entirely. The story. Red pushed open the saloon doors. The inside was just as lifeless as the rest of the town. A handful of locals huddled at their tables, speaking in hushed tones. The bartender, a heavy-set man with a scar down his cheek, watched Red warily. Red walked up and ordered whiskey. "You ain't from around here," the bartender muttered. Red took a slow sip. "Just passing through." The bartender scoffed. "Then keep riding, mister. Deadwood ain't a place for strangers." Red leaned against the bar. "That's funny. Seems to me it ain't much of a place for anyone." The room went silent. Then a voice from the corner said, "Ain't you heard? This town is cursed." Red turned. The speaker was an old man with wild gray hair and fear in his eyes. "The Phantom of Deadwood Canyon," the old man continued. "He comes at night, riding a black horse, face pale as a corpse. He's killed a dozen men, and no one's ever laid a bullet on him." Red raised an eyebrow. "A ghost that can shoot a gun? That's a new one." The bartender leaned in. "You think it's funny? Last man who laughed about it was found hanging from a tree come morning." Red set his drink down. "Then maybe it's time someone put this phantom in the ground." The woman with a warning. As Red walked back toward his horse, a woman's voice stopped him. "You should leave while you can." Red turned. A young woman stood in the shadows of the general store's awning. Her dress was simple, her face streaked with dust, but her eyes were sharp with fear. "My name's Clara Vaughan," she said. "And if you're smart, you'll get out of Deadwood before nightfall." Red crossed his arms. "That why you stopped me? To warn me off?" Clara hesitated. "No. I stopped you because I think you're the only man who might be able to stop this." Red's eyes narrowed. "Tell me everything." Clara swallowed hard. "My father, he was the sheriff here. 6 months ago, he started investigating the phantom. Then one night, I found him, murdered." She took a deep breath. "The town says it was the phantom. But I don't believe in ghosts." Red nodded. "Neither do I." Clara looked around, lowering her voice. "The truth is, my father found something. Something he wasn't supposed to. I don't know what it was, but I think that's why he was killed." Red's jaw tightened. "Then let's find out what he knew." A trap in the dark. Red didn't wait for nightfall. He rode straight to Deadwood Canyon, a rocky gorge a few miles outside of town where the phantom was said to appear. The land was dry and twisted, shadows stretching long as the sun set. A perfect place for an ambush. Red dismounted and found a high ridge to watch from. If the phantom was real, he'd be coming soon. The wind howled through the canyon, sending chills down his spine. Then, a rider appeared, dressed in black, pale face like a corpse. Red's grip tightened on his revolver. The phantom rode straight toward the canyon floor, moving eerily fast. Red watched, his sharp eyes scanning the figure. Something was off. The glow around the rider's face. Phosphorus. Red grinned. Now he knew the trick. The phantom wasn't supernatural. He was just a man, using tricks to keep the town scared. Red moved down the ridge, taking cover behind the rocks. When the rider passed below, Red stepped into the open. "That's far enough." The phantom jerked the reins, pulling up short. For a moment, the figure didn't move. Then, in a voice like gravel, he said, "You should have stayed away." Red smirked. "I don't take advice from dead men." The phantom drew his gun. But Red was faster. Boom. His bullet struck the phantom's shoulder, knocking him off his horse. The rider hit the ground hard, groaning in pain. Red strode forward, kicking away the man's gun. He reached down and ripped away the mask. The glowing face was gone. Underneath was a rugged man with a scar across his chin. Red recognized him immediately. Lucas Kane. A former outlaw, long thought dead. Red whistled. Guess ghosts do bleed after all. Kane gritted his teeth. You don't know what you've done. Red cocked his revolver. You murdered an innocent sheriff. You scared a whole town into submission. And now you're gonna pay for it. Kane chuckled darkly. You think I was working alone? That gave Red pause. Then a rifle shot rang out. Red ducked, barely avoiding the bullet. A group of gunmen emerged from the canyon walls, surrounding him. Kane laughed. You just walked into your own grave, Redondo. The last stand. Red didn't hesitate. He dived behind a boulder, returning fire. Bang! One outlaw dropped, clutching his chest. Kane scrambled toward his horse. Red shot him in the leg, dropping him again. Bullets whizzed past as the remaining gunmen closed in. Red rolled left, fired twice, and 2 more men went down. Only one was left standing, a tall, bearded man with a shotgun. Before he could fire, another gunshot echoed through the canyon. The bearded man stiffened, then collapsed. Red turned. Clara stood on the ridge, rifle smoking. She met his eyes. Figured you could use some help. Red smirked. Timing couldn't be better. Kane groaned on the ground. Red loomed over him. Time to face real justice, Red said. Kane sneered. The town's too scared to hang me. Red cracked his knuckles. Then I'll just have to drag you back myself. Epilogue, a town freed. By dawn, Lucas Kane was in shackles. The people of Deadwood Canyon watched in shock as Red rode in with the so-called phantom tied to his horse. The fear was gone. By the next sundown, Kane was swinging from a rope, and the town was finally free. Clara stood beside Red as they watched the sunrise. You saved this town, she said. Red tipped his hat. Ghosts don't scare me, but men like Kane, they need to be stopped. And with that, he mounted his horse. The road called. And Red Redondo never stayed in one place for long.